Good evening, everyone. It's Johnny Mack here, as usual, your host of Road to the Show. This is episode 2 featuring Iain Duncan. Real happy to have Iain here, yeah, former NHLer, real involved in development now in the U.S. So welcome, Iain. Thanks for taking the time to come out with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so we just, I know you tuned into Brian Prop last week. New show. The idea here is to kind of give our viewers and listeners, a background scene into people's career from when they were little, right through to what you're doing piano. Um, I actually coached back in the old MTHL back in the day and played a little junior hockey in Toronto, so I'm familiar with the area. What part of town did you grow up?
Well, I pretty much North York was where I grew up, but then we moved. I was at Avenue Road in Lawrence for a little bit, and then
Okay.
I went to King City for a couple of years, and then I ended up at Islington and Dixon in Etobicoke.
Oh, Tobico. Yeah,
Yeah,
lots of good hockey down that way for sure. That's where our guest next week. I'll talk about it at the end, but he's a Mimico boy.
yeah.
So we'll talk about him a little later. So where did you play minor hockey in? What association?
Pretty much. I guess I would have to say Shopsies, Marlies, Toronto Nats.
Yep.
In that realm, a couple years here, a couple years there, who I was giving the better sticks out kind of thing.
Yep.
Whoever you could go to and whoever we had a chance, maybe going to Quebec International Pee Wee Tournament and have a strong showing with Shopsies. Then Wexford. Um, and then when we moved north to King City, I went to Pickering College in Newmarket
Yep. Okay.
and had to work on my studies a little bit. So my parents shipped me up there, and I think it was almost the best thing for me because we had our own rink.
Oh wow.
And yeah, I snuck out of we had well, I guess homework, whatever you want to call it, from 7 to 9:30 every single night, so we
Hmm.
could have our homework time in
Yep.
our dorm rooms because we stayed there. And I would sneak out about 8:30 and have my gear stuffed in a hedge somewhere, and I would jump on the ice, and sometimes by myself, some with the younger kids because they get out of study hall at 8:30. So I'd be on the ice working on stuff for 2 hours at a time, and then take a quick shower and jump into bed. But after that, I ended up. I was just going to say, even though I lived in Etobicoke, I played for North York Flames Junior
Yep.
B.
Yep.
So it was a long ride every day to practice or whatever it might be. But pretty much all over Toronto, and loved every part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I played junior in the old Metro League for the Wexford Raiders.
There we
So
go.
that would have been the same league as that North York team, right? The Metro Junior
Yes.
B with
Yep.
St. Mike's
Exactly.
and Henry
Yep.
Carr and that whole group.
Exactly.
That was
Pickering. Yeah.
a tough that was a tough league back then, if I remember correctly, and I'm sure tougher when you played. You're a couple of years ahead of me, but
Yeah.
and that blast from the past, Shopsies. I don't think I've heard
Yeah.
about the Shopsies hockey team in probably 30 years. But the
Really,
real
yeah, I love talking about that. It's just it was a special time, and as a 12-year-old kid or 11-year-old kid, whatever you want to say, growing up in Toronto and being associated, you thought, with the Toronto Maple Leafs at the time because they were associated with the Marlies and so on and so on. And wearing that jacket with that crest was just like almost playing in the NHL, I guess, as a kid. But I was just in Toronto this past week, and I saw Marley's jacket. A young lady, probably 25 years old, was wearing it, and I poked my brother in the ribs because we both played for
yeah.
the Marlies. My brother played up in Markham for the Waxers and Marlies up there, but I played youth hockey for them, and I
Yeah.
just poked him in the ribs, and we just had a good chuckle because we did the old Franz breakfast thing the other day too, which we hadn't done in 40 years after our morning skates at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. I was fortunate. So the year I played for Wexford, 87, 88, towards the end of the year, a few of us got called up for a few games with the Marlies. So,
Very
I hold on
nice.
to that with such fond memories of. I remember taking the subway. I didn't have a vehicle, and the RGM called and said the Marlies want you to play tonight against Oshawa. I'm like,
Wow,
oh my goodness. So, jumped on
that's
the
great.
TTC with my gear and my
Yep,
sticks, right?
yep.
I'm on a subway, going to Maple Leaf Gardens, and then what happens is I get there, and I don't know where to go in, so I go I go in the front door on Carlton Street with my bag, right? And then the trainer comes out. He says, "Oh, put that." So they had gear and everything for me, and I had never, I'm from
Sure,
Halifax and kind of was
sure.
up there and didn't know anything about anything, and yeah, just but that was that was probably the highlight warm up, and I missed the puck. I was just in awe of the surroundings and the cathedral that Maple Leaf Gardens was. So hey, Iain, as you know, we have a segment that we do every week, and we bring on a young fella to ask a couple questions. So I'm going to play his intro right now, and then
All
we're going to
right,
bring Jack in.
all right.
Please welcome to the show our show's very own junior reporter, Jack.
Oh, look who's here.
There
Buddy?
he is.
Hi.
Hey,
You
Jack,
have
how
any?
you doing today?
You have any? What are you wearing tonight for a hat and jersey? I know you like to make a statement every week. What do you got on today?
A Winnipeg hat and a Winnipeg jersey because Ian played for the Winnipeg Jets.
That's
All
right.
right, Jack, you're already a good man in my books. Attaboy, attaboy, represent. Thank you for putting that on. Appreciate that. How you doing today, young man?
Good.
Good, good. What position do you play, Jack?
Defense or center?
Defense. Whoa, there you go. Got all the bases covered. Just don't play goal. All
Yeah.
right.
Nope.
Okay. Nope. I heard that right away. Yeah, go ahead. It's your time. I'm sorry.
Thanks. My favorite hockey team used to be the Winnipeg Jets, and now it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. What was your favorite team when you were growing up?
While the total opposite, the Toronto Maple Leafs was my favorite team because as well, I was just talking with your dad, growing up in Toronto and living there my whole life until I was 18 or 19, and then coming to the States to play college hockey, and having the chance to practice at Maple Leaf Gardens probably for 4 or 5 years in a row with Marlies and Shopsies. I would say the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now I follow the Winnipeg Jets, but I still have a special place in my heart for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's still my hometown. Even though I've been in the States for 40 years now, I still proudly call myself a Canadian, even though I'm technically an American now.
Yeah. How did you feel when the Winnipeg Jets moved to Phoenix in 1996?
Well, you know what? It was a tough situation because I know the fans of Winnipeg hold the Winnipeg Jets dearly to their heart and close to their heart. And it's very cold in Winnipeg, and there's not a whole lot to do up in Winnipeg in the wintertime. So they really follow their Jets, and they really, they need a hockey team up there. And it was hard to see them go, but I understand that happens in business sometimes. But I was glad that they did come back. I don't know if that's your next question, but I was kind of sad to see them go to Phoenix. But at the same time, I played in Phoenix for a year with the Phoenix Roadrunners, and it's a beautiful place to play hockey. If there's a place you have to go in the winter, it's probably about a 60 to 80 degree temperature change from minus 30 to 40 to probably plus 60 to 70. So there's a big temperature change from Winnipeg to Phoenix. But to answer your question, Jack, I was kind of upset, but at the same time, uh, you have to move on, and now they're back. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah. what advice would you give now to a young hockey player?
What advice would I give to a young hockey player? It's a good question. I could sit here for days, but the biggest thing is to work hard, have fun, and just chase your dreams. Whatever your dream is, whatever it might be, and it might not be hockey, and I'm talking life skills, and you might want to be a lawyer, you might want to be an owner of a hockey team. You might want to be an owner of a business. You might want to be a police officer. You might want to be a detective. You might want to be a plumber. You might want to be an electrician, HVAC guy, whatever it might be. You kind of chase your dreams. And if you put your time in, and if your dream, what is your dream? If I can ask you, Jack, is it to make it to the NHL? Is that your dream?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were the thing you have to do is just work your tail off. I can honestly say, and I'm sure I'll get into with your dad in a little bit more, but I wasn't the most talented hockey player ever. I can honestly say that on every single team I was. Even though I was the captain at Bowling Green, I was the captain, at different levels of pro. I wasn't the most talented, but there was one thing that I could really hang my hat on. And what that means is one thing I could always prove is I was the hardest worker on every single team I've ever been on. And that goes from when I was 4 years old, when I started at Leaside, all the way up until I unfortunately broke my sternum in '98 in Nashville in a game. So the biggest thing that I would say to a young hockey player is work hard, have fun, and chase your dreams and never give up. And don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do it. Okay? That's the biggest thing. I wasn't supposed to make the NHL. I was a 7th round draft pick. The reason Bowling Green picked me is because they knew I was going to Bowling Green. Winnipeg picked me is because they knew I was going to Bowling Green State University. And I had 4 years to get better. And one of the best coaches in the world was there, Jerry York. And they took a chance on me. And I was luckily enough, I was able to produce for them 4 years later and play for the Winnipeg Jets, and then a successful 12-year pro career. But I would say just continue to work hard and have fun and chase your dreams, big guy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jack, for joining us again. And that that was awesome. That's real good advice. I think you've heard that before about working hard and Jack, I'll tell you, he's a workhorse. He gets it. He likes to play on both sides of the puck.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's I'm really enjoying watching him. But anyway, you get ready for bed there, big guy, and we'll talk to you in a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Jack. Nice meeting you, buddy.
Bye.
All right, take care.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I you know what, Ian, I mentioned it to Brian Prop last week. There's a lot of hockey podcasts out there as you know, and what I find is there's some real good content and real good guests, but then they kind of cross the line to me and they talk about things that, stuff that I'm not going to let my little 9-year-old listen to. And it's a shame because there's so much, there's some real good stories out there. So I talked to the guys here, that run this network, and we talked about, maybe making a little bit of a family oriented so that, the kids can listen and get advice like you just gave. And, I appreciate that. And I know Jack does for sure. I got a couple questions came up on the Johnny Bray asks.
Okay.
So is this a friend of yours?
And Johnny and I played junior hockey with the North York Flames. Yes.
Funny because Johnny Bray, I have a buddy named Johnny Bray in Saskatoon that listens to the show as well. So I thought it was him, but there's an H in there. And my Johnny Bray is Jonny. So he says, who is your biggest influence in hockey?
Well, he probably he was just at my mother's funeral on Tuesday, so I would have to say my mother.
Yeah.
But because more ways than my mother. She was the captain of the Canadian women's field hockey team for 4 years back
Wow.
in the late 60s. So I was a ball boy for Canada for when I was like 6, 7, and 8. It was great.
How
Um,
cool is that?
oh, it was incredible. My mother was a right back. And I've told people before she could throw elbows and hip checks and knees and with the best of them. And that's, I just spoke at my mom's funeral on Tuesday, and I said, we got all our nastiness from my mother. And now I'm speaking about my brother, Scott Cameron. I changed my name when my mother remarried. My brother played at Notre Dame in the late 70s, and he played at like 6'3", 230.
Oh, wow.
And he was one of the smallest guys on the ice with Brown Scheidels and Jim Brown. And Jim Brown was I want to say 6'5" or 6'6". Brown Scheidel was 6'4". My brother was 6'3". And yeah, he played with Charlie Huddy up in Markham
Yep.
with the Waxers and stuff. So yeah, I'd say my brother, big, slow defenseman that beat the crap out of me my whole life. But I thank him every day for it, just because it made me tougher when I got to the ice. Playing against, 15-year-olds when you're 10 is hard. And, even if it's ball hockey or even on the ice, I'd always play against him and his buddies. And I would literally get the crap beat out of me and come home with broken nose because I'd have to play net with a frozen tennis ball. And they'd stick me in net. And I'd take one between the eyes and have to take one for the team kind of thing and just say, "Oh, it's okay, Mom. I'm okay."
Yeah,
And
that's hilarious. Yep.
yeah, so I'd probably have to say after John Braybrook, I'd have to say my brother.
Oh, okay. There
John
you go.
Bray, yeah. John Bray is my man.
Yeah, awesome. And then I got another question. What would you tell a kid considering going to play in the Fed?
In the Fed.
Yeah.
You know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I really was. When the opportunity for me about 3 or 4 years ago came up here just east of Cleveland, about an hour and 15 minutes away from where I live in Mentor, Ohio. A Fed team came up, and an ex-owner of the Toledo Storm, where I won a couple minor league championships, they approached me about being a coach and being a GM. And I had no idea about the Fed. I had no idea. I know it's like single A hockey. But after getting into it and they announced a team and I went to work, I had nothing I had to build a team from scratch. I had to build a locker room, had to build everything, had to design the uniform, had to order everything. And that they gave me like 90 days to do all that.
Wow.
Yeah. So I learned a lot about the Fed very quickly. But I was also at the same time, like I said, it's pretty good hockey. I mean, don't people, oh, you guys are bums. You do not, yeah. I'm like, well, how about you put your gear on there, loudmouth, and why don't you come to one of our practices? And I want to see how you can handle these 28-year-olds and 26-year-olds and 32-year-olds, because I guarantee you they're going to run over you and you're going to quit hockey. And I don't want to see that. So go back to your beer league, have some fun with them. You can come to games and have a beer or two and yell, shoot the puck, set it up, whatever. But I would say take a chance. If you have the opportunity, you're not going to be a millionaire. You're not going to be a millionaire, that's for sure. But you can go and work hard. Most guys have a second job to make ends meet. Some guys get paid $800 a week. Some guys get paid $250. Some guys get paid $150. It all depends on where you are in the pecking order. And you only have you have a salary cap every week. Every week you got to like nickel and dime it. And but if you're on the right team, I mean, right organization, and housing's good. Oh, that's one thing I made sure when I was in Menor is the housing was good, and we took care of the kids. I call them kids, because they weren't getting paid a lot. So I wanted to make sure they had a good meal or two every week from a restaurant. They had a nice place to live. We stayed at, not like, we didn't stay at Marriott's, but we didn't also, sleep on the bus. So I tried to make it as best I could for what we had to work with. But if you have a chance to play in the Fed, I would do it. If you have an opportunity, if you have like a leap year before you have to go get a real job, or a couple of years, and you have the money, because I know the opportunity that I took in the Fed, I got a chance to coach my son Brody, who's 28 now, and that was one thing that I really took. I wanted to coach him again because I hadn't coached him since he was 12 years old up in Little Caesars in Detroit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the
That's
Fed,
awesome.
I would say take the chance. I mean, take the chance. All you can do is, go and see. If you don't like it or things don't work out, then you move on to your, next goal in life.
Right. And you made a good point there, Ian. And I talk to people about hockey every day, it seems. And, and somebody asked that to me, and I don't have inside info. I've never watched a game live. I've seen some clips,
Sure.
and it looks half decent.
Mhm.
But the difference now, even to when you were playing and me to a lesser extent, is there's so many good players out there now compared to, I mean, it's just sheer numbers. Like hockey is in the US just alone, if you look at some of the markets that weren't there 30 or 40 years ago, like Phoenix,
Exactly.
Toronto Maple Leafs have two absolute studs from Phoenix, Arizona. And that part of that is, you going down there to play for the Roadrunners and them getting popular, and all of a sudden, the Jets go there, and now, you talk to these kids, and that's just it. If you can, when I look at it, and I played at a lower level European league, but I got paid to play the game, and nobody will ever take that away from me.
No.
I played the game, and I got, it was bad. We'd be lucky to get paid every week and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that'll never go away. And I agree with your advice there for sure. So going to get into college. So it's quite interesting to me because we weren't educated back, in the 80s about what our options are, right? So I knew a lot of people that played a couple games of major junior and gave up their NC2A eligibility and didn't even know what they were doing, right? Like they do now.
Right.
Were you aware coming up? So you were playing in the Metro League with North York. So did they talk to you about that? Did they, or did you have an OHA or OHL? I'm not sure back then, but did you have a team draft you into the O?
Nope. I never got drafted. I think one of the reasons was, and to answer your question real quick, John, is I did know because my brother went through it 5 years before me. So I kind of knew the ins and outs, and I'll go back to him. Well, I'll go back to him real quick. He went through that process with the Waxers. He was up and down, and then Oshawa wanted him to come and play at the end of a season. And so he stepped on the ice for a couple games to finish out the season or something. And then he found out that he might have lost his NCAA to a scholarship or able to receive it because he played 2 games. And so I think if I remember correctly, just remembering all of it, he was able to still go to Notre Dame, even though he did play a game or two. It was right at the beginning of all that.
Yeah.
Like if you're there more than 72 hours, you can't play in the NCAA anymore. You can't pass go kind of thing. And so I kind of watched that because after, and again, I keep writing, like, I guess the biggest influence would be my brother, getting back to that question, but because it keeps coming up, and then this is a recruiting violation. At the time that my brother was playing hockey at Notre Dame, my Christmas gift every year for 2 or 3 years was a week-long stay at Notre Dame with my brother. And I got to practice with the team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like 15, 14 or 15, 16 and 17 or 14, 15, 16. And he got it okayed by the coaches. And I practiced every, 2-a-days, everything. I was even on the bench in Western Michigan, opening and closing the door. And that was like, I was in heaven. I sat on the bus from Notre Dame beside, what's the goalie's last name? He's a Toronto boy too. He played with my brother from Toronto, but he's the GM of the Indiana team in the Fed now, or in the SP. So, drawing a blank. But I sat beside him the whole way and held his spit cup. So I thought I was really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
From
so
Notre
what year
Dame.
would that have been, Ian?
That would have been 79, 80, right around there. 80.
Okay.
Yeah. So my brother was there. Scott Cameron was his name. It would have been 77 or 78. Yeah, because he left in 78.
Yeah, I see Scott Cameron here, and then I'm just kind of looking through to see some of the names. I wondered, wasn't Poole in there?
Pools was the captain. Yeah, I just spoke to him about a month ago.
Yeah.
Dave Poulin, all those guys. It was a pretty good team.
For sure.
That was my first taste of college hockey. And when my brother went down there, and he came back in the summertime his freshman year, and then I kind of followed him down there every other year to go skate with them, and I fell in love with college hockey. I just on and off the ice, I guess you would say. I fell in love with college hockey, and I just decided, you know what, I better work on my grades a little bit. Not that they were bad, I just didn't like high school.
So and that's a good point. And if you think about college hockey in 79, 80, 78, 79, for the younger listeners, it was a group of college kids playing NC2A, Division I hockey that got together in 1980 in Lake Placid and shocked the world, right?
Yeah.
So if you were already kind of loving on that and maybe leaning towards that as your path as opposed to major junior A, that would have been the slam dunk, right? When you saw Ruzioni and that crew come, Kenny Morrow and
Morrow,
coming out, right?
Bowling Green boy, Kenny Morrow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. I agree.
Yeah.
No, Notre Dame stopped their program right after my brother left. It went dormy for about 6 years, 7, 8 years, and then they came back. But that was a big influence of that. And then I played in Aurelia, provincial junior A, because I didn't want to, screw up my scholarship. And so I ended up playing up there, loving Aurelia, the travel ways, and
historic
had success.
Program. I know. I looked at the roster there, Ian, and I know of two of the guys. So there's Dave Latta, that ended up. He played in the American League here in Halifax, and he also played with Quebec for a bit.
Yeah.
And he was in the OHL. He played in the OHL, and then Marty Williamson, who's been a coach, in the OHL in Niagara, and I think he was in Barrie before that.
I think he might have played in Toledo too. Storm.
Yeah,
I think he did.
Could very well have. So your freshman year national championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you say, right?
And then you think you're going to win it every year, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. But when you lose 5 guys, 5 seniors and 5 pros, it cut our team in half.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Bowling Green, I came down on my recruiting weekend the year before, and it was the opening weekend of the year, and Wisconsin was in town.
Oh, okay.
So I knew a couple guys on Wisconsin. I knew, I already knew 4 or 5 guys on Bowling Green from playing against them, Gino Cavallini and stuff like that in Toronto. Paul Houston was playing for Wisconsin at the time. He was my centerman with Shopsies when we were 12 years old. But so I went to the weekend. Wisconsin swept the series. And so, I thought, oh, this is still a great place. I love the crowd, love everything. I wanted to go to a smaller school. I didn't want to go to a school that was all cement kind of thing,
Right.
being a city boy, even though I lived in King City and Newmarket a little bit. I still consider myself a city boy, and I like to be out in the greener pastures a little bit more. I don't want to be around cement 24/7. So I wanted to go to a school that was a little smaller. Well, I guess smaller in general. And when I say Michigan State, the Wisconsins, other schools, Miami of Ohio, Harvard, Yale, all those schools were recruiting me. Brown, I had Colorado College, all different schools from everywhere. I had, multiple offers. Michigan State was really on me big time. And I just wanted to go somewhere where hockey was number one.
Kevin Miller was at Michigan then too, wasn't he?
Yes.
Michigan
Yep.
State,
The Miller
sorry,
family.
Michigan State.
State. Yeah. The Miller
and then
family.
Kip came after him,
Yep.
and
Yep.
Kevin, and
Yep. One after another. Yeah. No, it was tough. So I made my decision for Bowling Green after that weekend. And then it was really weird. I found out after I had made my decision that the 3 previous years in a row, whoever won the series at Bowling Green was the eventual national champion. So the year before, Wisconsin was, I think, was whoever won at Minnesota or somebody was at Bowling Green the year before opening weekend. They won the national championship. Wisconsin was there when I was on my recruiting trip. They won the weekend. They won the national championship. So whoever won that weekend series for the 3 years in a row. So the next year, freshman year, we won that series. Whoever we played, we beat them 2-0. I'm like, okay, let's make this 3 in a row. So we did. We eventually, went and won it at Lake Placid in 4 overtimes. And, I'm glad I picked Bowling Green, not just because of the national championship, but at the same time, it's always going to hold a special place in my heart. I still go back there. Yeah, I still go back there. I was just there for a playoff game, 5 weeks ago. I was there the week before for the weekend before for the last game of the year. Just in Toledo last night watching the Walleye in the East Coast Hockey League last night for a playoff game for a packed house of like 45 games in a row in Toledo. So this area of Ohio, Northeast and Northwest Ohio, it's a mini hockey hotbed. Detroit and Michigan is big time. So the trickle down effect kind of thing dribbles into Ohio. But there's some good hockey around here. And even though it's minor league hockey, Toledo is one of the best places basically in that county, Wood County. At Bowling Green, where Bowling Green is Wood County, and Lucas County is where Toledo is. That area is, again, it has another special place in my heart because winning a national championship at Bowling Green in '83 and then winning 2 minor league championships with the Toledo Storm 10 years later, back to back, 20 miles up the road. That was a great 10 years for me for sure. And then going back there last night and seeing a sold out crowd again, not as nice a rink that we played in. They're in a Taj Mahal now at the Huntington Center, but it's a special place. And if anybody is ever in the Ohio area or Detroit area and you want to see some good hockey and some crazy fans, try and get a ticket to the Toledo Walleye if you can.
I bet you Jarmo Kekalainen, if he was listening to this, would be upset that the Blue Jackets didn't come in there in the mid '80s, right? Maybe you would have won another championship in Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, Yarmo's a good dude, man. I communicate with him. I introduce myself through Facebook, and just, he knows my background, I guess, a little bit when I introduce myself, because I'm in the sporting apparel business, but I'm also into, reaching out to people and for not so much favors, but if he can help us out with 4 tickets to a game for our golf fundraiser, I'll take them. And so I reach out to him every year,
Yep.
and he sends them, without even asking, because he knows it's important, and he knows the fundraising part of hockey, for the equipment and travel and everything and coaching and just everything. We're not, we're not here to make millions off of it. I'm not, for sure, but to pay the bills and stuff. But I'm on the ice 2 to 3 times a week with the young kids still to this day. But Yarmo's a good dude. He's helped me out.
Yeah,
I'm always reaching out to the GMs of the world. I would love to get into the professional scouting realm, just because 55 straight years of being on a team, playing or coaching. I've got a few things in the back of this old brain bucket that, just watching the game. I watch probably 4 or 5 games a week. So,
yeah.
And then I'm
Might
on
as
the
well
ice a couple times.
Yeah, might as well get paid to do it for sure. I'm sure
Exactly,
if
right.
I'm working Yarmo pretty good to get him on this show. Just
Oh, good.
based on his history, being he broke some barriers of being a European manager in the
Yeah.
National Hockey League, right? And
Yeah.
I've had some dealings with him, and they've been nothing. Same thing. True
Yep.
professional gentleman.
100%.
I've got some kind of connections with him in Finland, so I'm part of a company out of Finland that we've done some stuff with the old Titan hockey stick. So we're, so anyway, and that was my connection to Alpo Suhonen, and we'll get into him in a few minutes.
Alpo.
But, we talked about Alpo.
Yes.
But, I'm hoping Yarmo comes on one time. I think it would be great to kind of hear his story and maybe the barriers that he had, getting a job. There's only, when you were coming in 21, but now there's 32 jobs managing a hockey team in the NHL, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty good that a guy from, Tampere or wherever he is from in Finland, made it there. Cool. So
for sure.
The numbers that you put up in college were solid. They got better every year. 86, 87, 28 goals, 40 helpers, and 68 points. You were in about the top 15. I mean, I saw Miller was up there. There was, but you were, 10 or 12 in the country. In scoring. Yeah, that's a lot of points at that level, right?
John, can you add the penalty minutes in there too, buddy?
Yeah, you were way up there in that, and that wasn't a league that allowed a lot of that, but
no, but I sure found it. That's for sure. You know what? Like I said, I just try to get, like your son just asked, I tried to get better every single day.
Yeah.
And whatever it was, if it meant foot speed, because I wasn't the fastest guy. And I'll come to that later. Winnipeg sent me to a skating school after a year and a half in the NHL. So I wasn't too happy about that. But no, college hockey, I fell in love with it. And my game, I got bigger and stronger. I went in at 179. And I left at 206.
Right.
I was a very competitive soccer player, so I never lifted before. Other than here or there when we had I really didn't. I was fast on the soccer pitch. I was a center forward, and I played soccer like I played hockey, high elbows, and I'll run over you. And I'll take the yellow card. It's okay. Because next time I know I'll be getting that ball first because you're not coming anywhere near me. And that's how I kind of played the game of hockey. I wasn't the most talented. I really did have to learn how to score. And that came through just working at it And, but I was all defense first, and then I worked on the offensive side of my game. And everything just started flowing together. And coming into Bowling Green is, somewhat of not so much a big recruit. Gary Kruzich was a bigger recruit that year than me. And, Todd Flickle came in from Osgood, Ontario.
Another
He was
Moncton Hawk and Winnipeg Jet. Yep.
Yeah, he was a Winnipeg Jet draft choice. He was in the 8th. I was in the 7th. Then we had Mike Natashak coming out of Bell River, Ontario, big, strong defenseman. Gary Kruzich, goalie, out of Illinois. And then we had Rob Urban coming in from Minnetonka, Minnesota, big kid. So I just came in there. I wanted to be part of the team, and I wanted to, be a part of it and help the team in any way I could. If that meant I got 4 shifts a period, I'm going to make sure I get 4 hits a period then, because that's the way, if I can't get a shot on net, I want to be effective in the hitting mode. And like I said, my game and confidence, and when you have the backing and the knowledge of a great coach like Jerry York on your side, and Buddy Powers and Terry Flanagan, and Pete Johnson was our graduate assistant, Bob's son. And so we just had we kind of, I didn't know the whole background story so much from the year before, where the team kind of, excuse my French, got screwed by the NCAA. Bowling Green was in the top 10 all year and then lost in the playoffs, and they didn't get a bid for the top, 15 teams or whatever. So they felt that they got wronged the year before, all the seniors and juniors and sophomores. So I guess me coming in the mix, and Gary Kruzich and those guys, Todd, we came in there and they were already on fire, and we just tried to fit in. And then, after we won the national championship, like I said earlier, we lost 10 players. We lost 5 to the pros, and then we lost 5 seniors. And I got a phone call in mid-July from Buddy Powers and said, start skating backwards. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm a left winger. He's like, start skating backwards. I'm like, why are you telling me this, buddy? He's like, because you're playing D next year. And I'm like, what? I said, is this April Fool's, kind of thing? And he goes, nope. We lost Gary Galley. We lost Dave Ellett. We lost Mike Pickle as a senior. We lost Wayne Wilson as a senior. We lost John Fish. He's quitting hockey. And so we lost 6 defensemen out of the 8. So we had Todd Flickle and Mike Natashak, I think, coming back as our only 2 defensemen on the team.
Wow.
So I'd never played D before, unless I was on the power play,
Yeah.
But so again, do I pout about it? Do I complain? Do I I'm gonna hopefully get in the portal in 1984?
Yeah.
But I said, no, you know what? This is gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. So I, started skating in the summertime at the fence, and then, training camp came, and then the season started, and we were a young team because we had to be, because we lost so many players. And I would play defense for the first 2 periods and then play left wing for the third.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I almost got the best of both worlds.
Oh.
And that's what kind of led me into the 86-87 season, is where I kind of went back to playing forward only. And, I kind of took what I didn't like at defense and turned it into my offense to the defenseman, and said, okay, I didn't like the puck flipped over my head and people chasing me down. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to flip it over their head and chase them down. So that was my game. And it's still funny, John. I like I said, I go to the game at least 2 or 3 a year, 4 maybe, if depending on my schedule. But I still, at least I'd have to say, I've heard it in the last 2 or 3 years that from older gentlemen that I see, I even one year in Cleveland, I went to a friend's game and their grandson was playing in the game and they found out, who I was and we're talking. He goes, "You're still the hardest hitter in Bowling Green history." And this gentleman was like in his mid-70s. So
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, I appreciate that, sir. I tried very hard to take that title." And I hear it from a couple different people and it means, it means a lot to me.
Oh, for sure.
Be, yeah, it's Bowling Green's got a great history of hockey, and you Ken Morrow on the you're just talking about the 19 and Mark Wells on the 1980 team, and we can go on about Gino Cavallini and all Dave Elliott, Gary Galley, all the guys that have played
Crazy.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a special place. But that year I really did. I had Nelson Emerson as my centerman. Nelly was my centerman that year, right hand shot, dishing to a left winger all the time. That was nice. I was on the power play. I was playing with Paul Isabart too, Donnie Barber, Brian McKee on defense, Brian Mahari, a short defenseman out of Toronto that was very skilled at the college level, just too short to move on after college hockey. But you know what? It's just everything fell into place and I felt confident in my game. And, I put on, like I said, probably 10 pounds since I hadn't gotten there. And I felt strong, and just wanted to get better every single day, John. That was what it was all about.
Oh, that's awesome. And then, so, we talked about you were drafted by Winnipeg in the 7th. And,
Yeah.
and for those of you, they had more, that wasn't the last round. What was there,
No.
12 or 15 then, Iain?
I would say 12. Yeah, I think there was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was 12, I think. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
Yeah.
12 rounds and, you alluded to it earlier in the show.
Yep.
Not a lot of guys, 7th round picks were making, there wasn't 32 teams, right?
Nope.
It was tough to get there. And one thing that I find remarkable here, and we're going to start talking about your pro career, is you finished up your college season in in that 87.
Yeah.
And then it looks like you got called right up to the Jets at the end of your college season and played 8 or 10 games in the regular season and then the whole playoff series.
Yeah, it was I had discussions going back to the 86-7 season and just to circle back for a sec, John.
Yeah.
I spoke with Fergie and the Winnipeg Jets wanted me to turn pro after that season. I was the captain of Bowling Green State University my junior year, and we had a pretty strong team coming back my senior year, and I was, hopefully going to be captain again, which I figured
That
I
usually
was.
happens. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Todd Flickle and I were captains together junior year, and we were captains together senior year. Both Winnipeg draft picks, right? So we went up to the Winnipeg. So I had this discussion over the summer, and they wanted me to turn pro. And I said, well, I'll turn pro if you give me a one-way. And they said, no, we can't give you a one-way. We're going to give you, we'll offer you a two-way. And I said,
oh, looks like we've lost Iain. I'm sure he'll get back here in a second.
there we go.
There you are.
So they wouldn't give me a one-way. So I said, okay, well, I'm going back to Bowling Green as the captain again. And we have a pretty good chance of winning a national championship again. And so that's where I'm going. So, they didn't really fight me a whole lot unless, I would have turned pro if they offered me a one-way. So comes Christmas time that year, senior year, we're having a pretty good season. Todd Flickle and I, the draft picks, we go up to Detroit because John Ferguson and Dan Maloney and the Jets wanted us, as guests. So we went up there and watched the Jets against the Red Wings, sat right behind the bench, had a great time. Todd and I were freshman roommates, so it was kind of cool. And then so we went up there after the game. The Red Wings, no, the Jets won that night. So we're down in the locker room in the old Joe Louis Arena, and we go talk there, meet everybody, Dan Maloney and a couple of the players, Randy Carlisle, Dave Ellett, because they played with them a couple of years before, all that stuff. And then Fergie pulls me into the training room and shuts the door. And I'm like, am I going to get the shit beat out of me here, or what's going on here, Fergie?
He's a big man.
Oh man, he's a big human with some big paws on him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you, sir? What's going on, John? He's like, I want to tell you we're going to be calling you up at the end of the season. I said, what'd you say? Can you tell me again? And he goes, yeah, when your season's done, you're going to be called up. And I'm like, thank you, John. I appreciate it. He goes, keep working hard. Good luck and all that good stuff. So, we went into the NCAAs. We went into Harvard. We lost to 2-game total goals. I don't know what the score was. I think it was pretty close, maybe 8-7 or whatever, 9-6 or something, 2-game total goals. So we flew back to Bowling Green on Sunday. I flew to Winnipeg on Monday. I practiced with the team Tuesday and played my first game Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you played in the NHL before you went to an NHL training camp?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I
That's
stepped
pretty
right
cool.
in. Yeah, I stepped right in. I was, it was kind of lucky. I wasn't supposed to play that actual Wednesday night. They were going to wait till like the next night in Calgary.
Yeah.
But somebody got ill at the morning skate. Somebody was sick.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure who it was. So I stepped in on the fourth line with Ron Wilson and trying to think who my right winger was. Might have been Andrew McBain or
Okay.
not really sure, but I stepped right in that night, practiced with them Tuesday, morning skate Wednesday. We beat Calgary that night 9-3. I got the 9th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got a goal in my first game, got that out of the way.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice. I think I got my first penalty the next night in Calgary, so I got that out of the way, kind of thing. And then, I was lucky. I was able to, stick with the, into the playoffs, and we got beat by Edmonton.
Every year that happened.
Yes.
Can you imagine if Edmonton wasn't there? That Winnipeg would have won 3 or 4 cups through there. I'm telling you, that team was good. Howard Chuck,
yeah,
he was a real deal.
Howie was my centerman for most of the time. I'd say a year and a half at least. And I know being on the power play with him, we were on the number 1 power play in the season of 88, I think, 87, 88, 88. I'm not sure which one. By like 0.1, we lost it on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
For the best power play in the league.
Oh wow!
And
that's with the 80s Edmonton Oilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, I try and tell people, I know Gretz and the McSorleys, and my brother knows Charlie Huddy, and I hated Steve Smith, as you could tell by that picture.
Yeah, he had a couple with him. Did you?
Oh yeah, more than one. I mean, that night, for example, on the front of the Edmonton Sun, we were both at center ice, and there was a fight already going on. Andrew McBain was fighting McClellan or somebody. And I had already had 2 goals and an assist that night. So I know I'm getting kicked out. I'm getting kicked out if there's another second altercation, right? Yeah. So I'm looking at the bench. Steve Smith's looking at his bench. I go look at my bench and look at him. He looks at his bench and looks at me. I look at we're like going. We're like, should we go? Should we go? Should we go? And then finally, I just said, you know what? Screw it. Yeah. And I went with a hard left.
Yeah, he was a big lanky guy. He could throw him.
So.
Yeah,
he could throw him. And we had a couple good tilts, playing them 8 times a year, plus every year in the playoffs.
Every year, yeah.
Yeah, and we had them down 3-2. We had them down 3-2 the year that they beat us 4-3. And that
was honestly, after Gretz left, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So he was in LA now, and
now
it's Messier's group. And
exactly.
they ended up beating Philly, I think, in the final, or Boston, one of them.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
won it both years. The years that they beat
Yeah.
us, whatever. But
Crazy.
yeah, it's crazy hockey going into Edmonton, going into Calgary. You know, you always go back to back when you're going out west.
Yeah.
You know, we always liked when teams would start in Vancouver, then go Calgary, Edmonton, then come see us instead of seeing us first and then going to Calgary and Edmonton.
Right.
You know, with the Jets, we would like to see you last, not first,
Yeah,
because
no, that's great. So a couple of names I kind of went through, with
yeah,
with the Winnipeg Moncton stuff,
yeah,
guys that I've kind of either know or have been around. One guy jumped out, and he was actually drafted 17th overall to Montreal the year you were drafted in the 7th round of Winnipeg. You know what I'm talking
Alfie,
about?
Alfie.
Alfie. Yeah.
Alfie,
What a
Mr.
beauty.
Turcotte. Alfie
What?
is a beauty on and
Yeah.
off the ice.
Yeah. So Alfie was here in Halifax, and I knew Alfie. He was here in Halifax with I don't know who he was with, but he played here in
Sure.
the American League, and that before he was in Moncton, and then you would have played with him in Moncton and in Winnipeg, right?
Yes, exactly.
He was a legend at a bar here in Halifax called Cheers.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I played, and I subsequently before that played with Jeff Turcotte, Alfie's younger brother. So he
Okay.
played in the Western League for Portland Winterhawks, and then he came to the Ontario League. And when I got called up to the Marlboros, Jeff Turcotte's there. So it's a little bit
Wow.
of 6 degrees of separation. So he was a beauty. Obviously,
Alfie.
Bones is back in Winnipeg, which is crazy because we had
Bones,
him 40 years ago or whatever
Bones
it is, right?
is the man. Bones, yeah. I cannot. It's just like Elpo. Elpo and Bones were pretty much there at the back to back or at the same time. They're right there back to back years, and one's from Finland and one's from Canada, but they both had the same kind of style of being a great coach.
Yeah.
Just laid back. I know coaches get fired up, but so laid back when they're communicating. And I reached out to Elpo a couple months ago or 6 months ago, and just on Facebook and I told him, I said, thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. They're both coaches that, I could call them up to today and ask for advice, and they wouldn't blow you off or anything. They would give it to you. They
Rick's
take
from
the time.
here. Rick's from Halifax area.
Oh, is he? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know he's from Halifax.
Yeah, he grew up out here. I actually coached his daughter at the University of Arizona women's team. It was a club team.
Yeah,
but
it's all good.
But I helped coach them. Predators now. She's got a real good job. And then Rick was actually an assistant in Phoenix, I think, to Gretzky at the time, and when I was coaching in Tucson.
He probably was at that time. Yeah,
because he'd come down to the odd practice, and then I'd be like, "Oh my God, I got Rick Bonus watching my practice." Teppo Numminen, another good fan.
Yes, Teppo.
I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I think he could have been one of the best ever. And I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was effort or give a shit level or what, but he just, everything seems so easy for him. And it was like if this guy kind of just maybe had a little bit more compete, he'd be up there with Nick Lidstrom, right? When you're talking about the greatest defenseman ever, I think he had all the tools.
Yeah, Teppo, when you say that, I mean, I agree with you that he could have been one of the best. He's still, I think, still up there.
Oh yeah.
He just
do it all.
Yeah, just so smooth. It so much wasn't, I wouldn't say it's effortless like a Lidstrom. Teppo had to really, he worked at his game. He worked at his game. He put that chew in and go to work. Like all those Finnish guys. Him and Freddie Olsson from Sweden, they were buddies, and but Teppo was a great guy, great teammate, worked his tail off, very skilled. I'm jealous of all these guys that can skate like the wind. I'm like a Mack truck, once I get going, watch out. It just takes me a little while. and like I tell people, John, it's not my favorite. One of my favorite sayings is, it's not how fast you get there, it's what you do when you get there.
Yep.
So that's why I had to rock people to disrupt the puck from their stick. I couldn't catch it.
Yeah.
So, but no, Teppo was a great teammate. Loved playing with him. So skilled. And like I said, yeah, I could see where people really, you know, if his I would say his give a shit meter is up there.
Yeah.
But if he did give that little extra, he
Yeah.
would have been even that much more special of a hockey player. Yes, for sure.
That's what I thought for sure. And the last guy kind of threw this, you know, your Winnipeg Moncton, Mikey Eagles. So Mike's
Yeah.
another East Coaster here. And
Yeah.
he ended up getting a real good run in Washington after
Yes, he did.
that time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, another great player, somebody that just persevered
Yeah.
throughout wherever he was, and just got better, and it was a battler, man. So skilled.
He played about 4 inches taller and
I was
50
just
pounds
gonna
heavier than he
I
was.
was just gonna say, I
Yeah.
said he wasn't the biggest guy,
Nope.
but he battled, man. He battled, and that's the thing. I would rather go against
Yeah.
a guy that's 6'4" and outweighs me than some little scrappy guy like him that doesn't give up. He's like, just like a pest that has
Yeah.
skill.
And he took
those are the
real
guys.
good care of himself he took real good
Yeah,
care of himself in
yeah.
an era that they didn't. A lot of guys didn't.
No, I mean, I could have taken better care of myself. For sure. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I mean, but I can honestly say I didn't. I took care of myself. I can, everybody, oh, you guys booze a lot and stuff. And I'm like, no, you got to pick your spots.
Yeah.
When you're, I can honestly say I played 12 years of pro hockey, and I think I only played 500 and something games, 507 or 3 or 2 or something. But I drank one night before a pro hockey game, one time. And,
wow.
and I paid the price the next night in the game.
And you realized that's it.
I told myself that's the last time I ever do that. And yeah, sure, you'd have a beer with dinner, but you wouldn't go out and have a couple 12,
Yeah, exactly.
with the boys. Yeah.
So you end up, you finish your NHL career in '89.
Yeah.
You go back up in 91 for a bit, and then you end up in the I in Phoenix, and then you get you're now the way it was back then for our younger listeners. You had the National Hockey League, then you had the American Hockey League, and the I was kind of in between here, right? Like it was
last goal wins.
Yeah, last goal wins, tough, like not so like big boy hockey. You're not like the American League was tough enough, but you get to the I, and there were some characters that played in that league that would give you nightmares for months. Anyway, and then the East Coast League it was just kind of becoming prominent in the early 90s, right?
Right.
And I was playing then. I had a couple options back then that I looked at. In Raleigh, I think at one point.
Yep, the Ice Caps.
Anyway, so you end up in Toledo.
Can I take you back, John? Can I take you back to Phoenix for 1 second?
Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
So the reason I ended up in Phoenix, I signed with LA as a free agent. They came after me a little bit because of playing against Edmonton.
Yeah.
And Gretzky. And technically, I was supposed to be Gretzky's left winger going into camp.
Wow.
And I didn't know this until I got to camp. I thought I was just coming in as, a flyer and let's see what happens because I scored. You saw my stats from the 3 years before, whatever, 19 goals, 17 goals, whatever, 42 points. 89.
That's an $8 million guy in today's NHL.
I wish, man. Like, let's go. So technically, I knew Wayne through Marty McSorley, even in Edmonton. I would drive Marty and Wayne back to the hotel, or we'd go get something to eat if they'd stay in town because I knew Marty from the summertime. working hockey camps in the McSorley clan, I call them.
Yeah.
The McSorley family, Chris and everything. And so that's why I ended up in Phoenix, because I tore the muscles off my spine in LA's camp.
Oh, wow.
So, and guess that was the year John Tonelli got traded back to the Islanders from the Kings.
Yeah.
And what number did John Tonelli wear everywhere he went? Do you
27.
remember? That's what number they gave me in training camp.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't 52.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought, and John, I can honestly tell you, and this is no lie, on my new granddaughter 7 weeks ago, I thought I was going to get number 72 in camp. I really, just like you said, it's not 52.
Yeah.
I thought I was coming in Blue Jay, California, up in the mountains.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get number 72. I really did. I'm like, I'm coming in as a free agent, coming in as a flyer. And then I look in my stall and I've got 27. And I'm like, are you hitting me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way. And I'm like, dang, man, they must believe in me. And that really, and then I tore the muscles off my spine about 5 days later.
Wow.
So
that really, for lack of a better, analogy, ended your NHL career.
Pretty much. Yeah, I rehabbed it. I rehabbed it back in Cleveland at the Cleveland Back and Spine Institute, because I was dating a girl from Bowling Green at the time, and she was living in Cleveland. And so I just went back to Cleveland, and then the Kings paid for all my rehab. And so December 1st, they sent me to Phoenix after I rehabbed for September, October, November, and like December 15th, December 15th, I got into Phoenix, and that was my rehab to go and get rehab and go back to LA. So I'm there. I didn't have a point in the first 6 to 8 games. I was struggling a little bit, with back issues and stuff and all that. But after about the 8th game, like Ilka Sinisalo was on that team.
Yep.
We had Daryl Gilmore in net, Daryl Williams from the East Coast, PEI by. But I lit it up the last. I think I ended up playing 36 games there. The last 26 games, I had 36 points or something like that. Or
yeah, you put up the numbers for sure.
Yeah, so I was on my way back to LA on Monday, and I tore my knee up on a Friday night game when a guy kind of submarined me when I went to hit him.
Wow.
And so I had another knee surgery, and so I was out for the rest of the year. So that goes my LA contract. And that's when Chris McSorley, because I had skated with Chris. Yeah, I had skated with Chris with the Toledo Storm before I went to Phoenix just to get some ice time, because I was in Cleveland. He's down the highway here in Toledo with the Storm. So I called him up. I said, Mac, can I come and skate with your team for a couple of weeks before I go to LA or Phoenix? And he goes, yeah, not a problem. Yeah. So I went in there, and I think I skated with them for about 10 days and just trying to get the feel of moving again. And then I went to Phoenix, and that summer McSorley asked me, he goes, what would it take for you to play here in Toledo? I go, well, it's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
And he said, tell me what the number is and I'll make it happen. So I told him what the number was, and he made it happen.
They had a lot of more flexibility back then, didn't they?
Oh, I got a bag full of money like every month.
Yeah.
And I had my own place also.
That's big.
Oh, that was huge. I lived about 15 miles away from all the other guys. I had my own.
That's good too.
I lived. So,
And you guys went back to back, right?
Yep,
2 years.
Back to back. Should have won it the third year too.
Yeah.
Pretty much had a good team. Just McSorley went on to Las Vegas that year.
Right.
And Greg, we lost in the playoffs. It was one of those things. We had a good hockey team. We had a great run. great bunch of guys. I'm still on a text feed with like 12 or 14 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They do a reunion in Toledo every now and then?
I was just going to say that, John. Last night I was at the hockey game and I ran into a couple of people, and the one gentleman, Dan Savig, who's a big historian of Toledo hockey. He runs the Hockey Hall of Fame and everything for Toledo in that area. And he told me last night that they have confirmed for November of 2023 a 30-year reunion for our back-to-back. They're the Riley Cups.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they're also going to do the Hockey Hall of Fame at the same time, inductees for next year. Every other year they do it. So hopefully I'll get in this year. A little birdie told me that I am. So
congrats. Well, let's hope.
But don't tell anybody, okay?
I would bet you should be in there with all you've done for hockey in Ohio. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's nice being in the Bowling Green one. And if I can get in Toledo, that would, like I said, it's a special place. It's people wouldn't think of Toledo for a hockey game, but the people in that area and the Toledo Mud Hens baseball team and the Toledo Walleye are owned by the same people, by the same group. So they do it right. And people in Toledo, they're lucky at the minor league level to have great facilities. It's not like the sports arena like we played in, where you could smoke in the building, like the old Quebec building in the Pee Wee tournament. But it's a special place.
Oh, no question. And there's a guy that I wanted to mention that was in the Coast that year, but I'm going to go jump ahead here. We're getting short on time. Yeah. We're going to have to get you back again. I'm telling you.
Too many years, John.
Go into the post-career stuff. No, but before I get there, roller hockey.
Yeah.
You played 2 years with the New Jersey Rock and Rollers. And there's three names jumped out at me that were on that roster. First one, Manon Rayon. So she played 4 games with you 1 year and then 1 the year before. I think that's tremendous. Was this after she played a game in Tampa, or
yes,
it was?
Yes. Okay. Yes. It was right in that. It was right after we won the Riley Cup. I got a phone call from Nick Fatiu.
Okay.
And I played against Nicky when he was in Calgary, and he gives me a call and says, "Hey, you want to come play roller hockey?" And I'm like, "Nicky, I've never played roller hockey ever in my life before. I have no idea what you're talking about." He's like, "No, come on, man. I need you. You can be my captain, all this stuff. I need a leader." And I'm like, "How much does it pay?" All that stuff. And he's like, and they paid pretty good.
I had an opportunity that same year to go to Anaheim Bullfrogs.
Yeah, the Bullfrogs with McSorley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had another guy. Yeah. I had an opportunity. I didn't go.
Yeah, I just took it, and I went and I had a blast, and they asked me to come back the next year, and I had a blast, and that was it. But it made it for a long season come the next Christmas. You're dragging a little bit in the hockey season.
Mel Engelstad was on that team.
Yeah, Mel.
And he just won. I don't know if you follow. There's a big it's a minor league fight group on Facebook, Fourth Line Fighters or something, and they do this big. It's like a NC2A bracket of fighters, and Mel won it.
Did he?
Yeah. I think he beat Johnny Morasti in the semi, I think, and then it was Mike Scroy and him, and Mel won it.
Yeah. Well, Mel could go. Mel could throw him. That's for sure. And
then the third
guy you want on his team.
Yeah.
On your team.
And then the third one, I ended up with him in Switzerland briefly, and probably one of the biggest beauties I've ever seen. Trevor Job.
Oh, you can have a whole month-long show about Jober.
Never sober Jober.
Oh my goodness, man. What can you say? There isn't. I don't know. There's a million stories about Jober.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jober. very talented. You know,
He had an NHL game. He had an NHL game. He had he would have had one of the best shots in the National Hockey. Remember his stick? He had a stick that was over his head.
Yeah.
And it was illegal. And he had shorter ones that he'd use in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Because there was a stick length, rule, just like the curves, right? Oh, he would do that, but he could score. He could fight.
Oh.
Wasn't a very good skater, but
No.
it didn't matter because he'd throw them with heavyweights and he'd score 90 goals in a year.
He never knew his goalie's name though until after Christmas.
No,
that was the whole problem.
He'd see the goalie out, at the end of the period.
Well, I lived with Jober when we were with RHI in Jersey. We lived in the same house.
Yeah.
And I had my Jeep Cherokee and, hey, Dunk, can I borrow your Jeep? I'm just running down, grabbing some beers, come back. I'll be back 20 minutes, 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, no problem. I got to go somewhere in about a half hour, so hurry up. 4 hours later, like, Jober,
loaded.
Where'd you go? Oh, I stopped for a beer here and beer there and beer here and beer there. I'm like, dude, did I not tell you I had to leave in like a half hour?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't spend very much time with him, and I could fill a couple of shows for sure.
Oh, very much so.
So we're gonna get you back on because there's so much more we can go into. But I want to talk about what you're doing now. I know that I'm in development, obviously, out here quite a bit, and you do a lot in Ohio. So tell me about what it is you're doing specifically.
Well, a couple things. I've been associated and been an instructor for USA Hockey now for 21 years, and I get to work with the 14s in the Mid-Am district every year now. Will be my 21st year in a row. But also coaching and training kids here at Team Ohio, AA program in the Cleveland area in Lakewood, Ohio. We have 12 to 14 teams now. From every age group through U18, U16. I do the spring and summer skills, probably 99% of them. And I train kids. I'm training kids on the side. We have a couple of rinks here that I go to, and I work with a couple ex-pros also. We go to different rinks and just put on programs, and I go over to Chicago through the Midwest a lot and do clinics over there. I'm a true hockey ambassador also, so that awesome. Helps. That helps, down the road, and basically just training with kids and just getting on the ice and coaching, and that's what it's all about, is trying to pass on some of the things that I've learned over my 55 years of being on the ice, and pass them on to the kids, and some tricks of the trade, so to speak. And just some training tools and some training things. And one thing that I've been kind of known for in this area is that I put on the best skill practices all that people tell me, because even during the hockey season, none of my two practices are the same.
No, that's good. That's key.
Oh, yeah. I want them to be thinkers, not robots.
Right.
And so many coaches just do the same four drills all year long. And you wonder why you can't get the puck out of your net, out of your zone, So,
exactly.
But no, I just love training with kids, and I work with as many kids as I can, and just to get them better.
No, that's awesome. And I'm involved here. You probably would have played against Charlie Bourgeois in either St. Louis or Calgary, did you?
Yes, I think so. I did.
So Charlie owns the Atlantic Hockey Group here out of Moncton, and. Okay. And we have a little bit of a project going on together, power skating program, Perfect Edge Power Skating. That's kind of my background, right?
Yeah.
So we should talk sometime, because we have,
for sure.
I think in the Atlantic Hockey Group, there's 247 spring teams right now, right? Wow. And I know you guys have a bunch there. We can look at doing something. We host tournaments all over this area, and I know you guys do too. It'd be kind of cool to do something together. That's awesome. I remember, so when I was doing my development stuff in Ontario in the late 90s, early 2000s, There was a couple of boys from Ohio that came up, and I'm not wondering if you had any connection to them. The Fritchies, Dan and Tom. You remember the boys?
Yeah. Well, I know Dan. He lives on the southeast side of Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then I know Mark Fritchie, who is a cousin of.
Okay.
He's
And
from
their dad
Cleveland.
had a hockey store, a sports store.
Yes, Fritchie
Columbus.
Sports Shop. Yeah,
Yep.
Fritchie Sports Shop. Yeah. So I was even going to mention him earlier when you brought up that, the Arizona contact.
Yep.
And now, like, one of the things that you see with all the ex-pros, the Canadians especially, that live down here in the States now, like myself.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, we get involved in training. Mark Fritchie is the head of the Arizona Coyotes junior program, like the youth program.
Yeah.
So he told me, I think he's got 10 to 12 ex-NHLers on his coaching staff.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of guys retire there. Yeah.
Yeah, and he loves it. He's trying to talk me into moving down there. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Could live in worse places.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's so. Yeah, no, I know Mark really well. Mark works with the Mid-Am district in USA Hockey, and I think we've been at the same 14 camp for like 15, 16 years in a row, but I've been there for 21. But I know the Fritchie. I know different parts of the Fritchie family.
Well,
yes,
that's
for
cool.
sure. Yeah.
So with that, I'm gonna wrap up. Next week we got a good guy coming on, 2-time Stanley Cup winner, Memorial Cup winner, World Junior Champion David Boland, former Chicago Blackhawks, Toronto Maple Leaf. I actually coached David when he was a little guy in the MTHL with you go back to your youth, North York Rangers.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
But thanks again, Ian. And I wanted to mention also. So I had a call a couple of years ago, and this is before you and I even talked, with Dan Edison. About your and this is cool. I'm gonna post the what is it? Is it toedragapparel.com?
Yeah, toedragapparel.com. Yep, exactly. Our shinny skins and
you talk about it, and I'm gonna put it up there for our people.
Yeah, our shinny skins are one of our biggest sellers. Yeah, the shinny skins is just an athletic sock that you can pull on and wear in your skates. I used to wear them in my suits when I was coaching, and they're very comfortable. They're very stylish. We do every NHL team. We do custom colors. We do custom socks for organizations. It's all totally sublimated. We put sponsors on there. You can put your team logo. You can put whatever. And we've had great success. And we've had a couple. The Chicago Blackhawks are looking at buying right now from us. We've had about 8 to 10 minor league teams purchase from us. And it's just a fun, a lot of tournament companies put it in their swag bag for teams. And it's just something fun. And a lot of players in the minor pros and pros wear the sock itself in their skate because it's a seamless sock and it's very comfortable. And we've had great success with it, even though it's been in existence for about 6 or 7 years. We've really finally just caught the ground running probably 2 years ago and getting it out to the market.
Yeah, I've done my research on that. I love it. Love all the stuff, and certainly go check it out, folks. And I'll share the link on our social media pages as well. But thanks again, Ian. This was awesome to get to know you a little bit, and we maybe I'll bring you on as a part of the teammate series, and you can find an old teammate, and we could have a little 3-way conversation.
Oh, I'd love to do that. Oh, that'd be incredible. I got a lot of teammates I'd like to find and have a chat with. That's for sure.
Well, let's talk about it, man. Yeah. Keep in touch, and I appreciate you coming on. That was awesome.
Yeah, all the best, John. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, folks. See you next week. And by the way, we're having I'm going to be on the Sixth Man Leafs podcast Thursday night at 8:30 Eastern. We're going to talk first round. So thanks again, Ian, and we'll see everybody next week.
All right, take care, man. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Yeah.